welcome to our 50th episode of Tea Trowels, the series from the Florida Public Archaeology Network where we chat with archaeologists about their research and what archaeology means to them. I'm Emily Jane Murray, one of your hosts, and today I'm joined by your other host, Emma Dietrich. And we thought we would do a special episode here and chat a little bit about the whole series so far at our 50th episode. So we both are vaccinated and we can be together in the real world, which is also very exciting and special. So we do have, I'll introduce our mugs here. This is a tea set that was given to me by one of my dearest roommates in college. So we're gonna have some lovely green tea while we chat. And ooh, thank you. And my first question for you, Emma, is what has been your favorite part of doing the whole series?
I think the series was just, when it started out, we were just trying to figure out what to do during a pandemic. And I think that became one of my favorite parts of the series, was being able to still get this closeness during a global pandemic and to make new friends and colleagues and to meet so many different people in this virtual world.
That's definitely been a very exciting part of it. I think my favorite part has honestly been the mugs. I think it's a really cool way to kind of get a snippet of material culture. That's what we do as archaeologists. That's what we're here to study, and to think about what you can say about a person through just one piece of evidence about them. So it's been really fun.
I have to agree. I have definitely started a massive mug collection in response to this program. So my question for you is, who has been your favorite person to interview?
Oh man, and this is like choosing between your children, because we've enjoyed and loved all of our wonderful guests. But the interview that sticks with me the most is the interview I did with Uzi Baram, because it was very inspirational and just to hear about his work and, talking about how we can all play a part in making the world better, and thinking about kind of the long view of history and, thinking about progress and all of those kinds of things. It was just really great and very uplifting and inspirational. So how about you?
I absolutely loved chatting with Eldon Yellowhorn. His stories were phenomenal. His research was super cool. And we definitely spent some time afterwards chatting, but I was just so amazed with his field story and how kind of insane it was. And it was just some of those moments where you're just like, wow, archaeology is definitely a different career.
And robots to teach you
yes,
the language.
Getting into AI
awesome.
And learning all of this, like what archaeology can do, and even on this broader scale and going into the future. Yeah, it was such a good interview.
Well, what's something that you've learned from talking with all these archaeologists? It could be something general or maybe just one specific fun fact.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go general on this one, but I think it's reaffirming the fact that I always say archaeology is such a small community, or we're so few of us, but then actually realizing how connected the community really is and how small we all are. Because there are so many people that I have met through Zoom now that I have never met at a conference, nor probably would I, because they were connected like 2 degrees, 3 degrees away from my normal research bubble. So it's phenomenal being able to chat with all these different archaeologists and just have that sort of community that exists.
I was going to say, and you figured out talking to folks like, oh yeah, you were like my grad school professor's in-law, and all the connections that you don't know. It really is.
Yeah.
Was it
Tane? One of my professors in grad school is his in-laws, but then it was also like a colleague of mine didn't know that I went to Mercyhurst, and she literally lived for months across the street, possibly in the same house that I then rented as a student, or like next door to. So it's all these weird little connections. Yeah, I love it. What about you? What would be yours?
I think it's been fun because I always try to do a little background research on the person that I'm interviewing. And, some of these folks are people that I've known for years, but I've known them in, very like one setting or another setting. And, often the thing that they're researching is not a thing that I I research or look into, or it's outside of the kind of scope of what I've done. So it's been really cool to kind of learn more about what some of my colleagues that I've known for years, but like to actually drill down and understand some of the work that they've done. And so that's been a really great opportunity, a good excuse to read some more archaeological.
Learning all of our colleagues' hats that they wear and the different roles that they play within archaeology. Yeah, I can agree. So what is one question you wish we would have asked?
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know if I have a specific question. I really like the Ologies podcast, and I like at the end, Allie Ward asks her guests, what's the best part of your job and what's the worst part of your job? So I think something like that I would do a little more of that. We kind of tried to get at some of that with thinking about the best first field story, but that's pretty limited still. But to think, to ask folks more of that type of question.
Yeah. So I asked that question because I have an answer for it. This came out of another kind of Tea and Trowel reunion where I suckered a bunch of previous guests to come talk to college students, and what it really came down to is I wish we would have asked the question, what advice would you give to incoming archaeology students? Because I think we have, as a profession, we have so many of our own personal experiences, but some of us in academia have their advice to pass on, and I think this needs to be maybe a spin-off, a short little series or something, or maybe just a blog. Make it easy.
Expect some emails, right?
Yeah. Sorry guys, you're not getting rid of us just yet.
Well, we always have a big question at the end. So my big question for you is, what is your biggest takeaway from the whole project?
Oh, man, I really think it shows us as a profession, but also as humans, and how we were able to so quickly adapt to a changing world. Going virtual right off the bat in March, and immediately being able to have Zoom interviews and go online, go digital to colleagues who are trying to figure out the new ways of doing field work, and to professors who are now jumping into Zoom teaching and virtual learning, and how quickly we adapted, just as human beings in general, I think is a cool kind of takeaway. It's not necessarily a takeaway you get from the actual interview process, but it's just something that's been in my brain of what has just been a cool experience to see how people have adapted and what they've done to immediately change their trajectory of some kind. What about you? What's your biggest takeaway?
Well, so my biggest takeaway, we kind of planted there because I wanted to know, how people thought archaeology could help save the world. And, so we very specifically asked an aspirational question. And, this is from being in the profession for a long time and having folks ask, why did you become an archaeologist? And the answer is not often to find old things or to look at old stuff or because I like that, a lot of times it is kind of these bigger, idealistic accomplishments, but these bigger accomplishments of ending racism or giving voice to the voiceless or things like that. And to hear so many of our colleagues talk about, some of their hopes and what archaeology can accomplish. And, I think a lot of folks are, we very much recognize where anthropology and where archaeology has come from, and that, we've made some progress, but we still have a long way to go in the field to really be the best that we could be. But I think there's a lot of hope, and I think, a lot of folks are working towards those goals, and, to kind of see everyone from all over the country and all over the world do their own little part and really be thinking on these questions. I just, once again, I find it very inspirational and exciting.
Yeah, it's nice to see that the profession as a whole is not being passive. They're taking an active stance on what's going on in our present reality to better understand the past and to utilize the past for the future, which I think is phenomenal.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of the things I always think of is, there's that so what factor, it's oh, you found something cool, so what? What does that mean? And so I think, this is definitely, folks are really trying hard to answer that so what question. So.
Completely agree. And now that we have our own little interview done, we couldn't have 50 episodes without rating all of our previous episodes. So we do have a series of awards to give out for some of the better highlights of our Tea and Trowels ventures. So look forward to certificates in the mail, folks. We're sending you guys awards.
All right, our first category is most viewed video.
Oh, and I have something horrible to tell you guys. The most viewed episode of Tea and Trowels is our very first episode, a chat with your hosts. So we win. We'll buy ourselves a different beverage this evening in celebration.
The video with the most likes.
That has to go out to Dr. John Worth, and I have a slight feeling that there are some UWF students involved in making that happen. So, Dr. Worth, make sure to be easy on them this summer as you guys go into the field.
The most comments on a video.
That goes out to our very own Nigel Rudolph in one of our most recent episodes. So I was amazed to see those comments. It might also have been Nigel commenting on his own, but you know,
it still
we'll
counts.
Let it go. It counts. It counts.
Our interviewee from the furthest distance away.
So we had to do the actual numbers, and by just about 70-ish miles, it is Laura Band. So congratulations, Laura. You were officially the person who dealt with the furthest distance from me at the time of your interview, which is amazing. And technically, I just realized I connected that interview when I was in Sanford. So you won even further now, because that's a little bit further away from London.
The most succinct research summary.
And this is one of your favorites. That has to go out to John and Anino. What did you say his was done in? It was about...
he had like 10 words, and so he was on point there, but we got him to elaborate a little more. So
who really could keep their research in 30 seconds or less? Let's be real here. We had some different hopes at the beginning of this episode, these interviews.
We're a talkative bunch, apparently.
Clearly.
The longest interview.
Talking about being a talkative bunch, Gwen, one of the yay ones, as I now know her, as Gwen Henderson has officially the longest interview. But that's because it took 2 days, and we accidentally did the entire interview informally, just by chatting and getting to know her, without ever hitting record, and then having to go off to different meetings. So this took 2 full days to be able to actually get an interview done. And it was some of the best times. I love the virtual components. It's fantastic. You're able to connect so well with people.
Best surprise guest appearance.
Oh, this has to be my favorite. And Trish, this goes out to your mom and your guinea pig. Although we did bring your guinea pig up for you to display your cute little furry friend. But I think your mom calling in had to be one of the best highlights of a Tea and Trowel episode for the surprise guest appearances.
And I mean, shout out to all of our guest appearances, our fuzzy friends and little ones, and all the friends we didn't know we had along the way there. Craziest field work.
So this is another reason why that my favorite person to interview was Eldon Yellowhorn, and it's because of his crazy field story. So I put that in. That was my answer. Getting dropped off and being forgotten by a helicopter and having to hike your way down the mountainside, only to be picked up by a logging truck. I don't know what other field that this would occur in. There's probably a few, but that's an archaeology story.
That is one, man. The most exciting Zoom location.
Oh, this has to go to a very dear Tea and Trowel alumni, Brennan Burke. And you conducted that interview.
I think he zoomed him from a kayak on his lawn, not on the water, but he also provided the one and only Tea and Trowels field trip tour of the farm that he lives on. So it's a good one. So
all the extraness.
Yes. And so we have one last bonus question before we leave everyone. So what are you looking forward to most as we all get vaccinated and can get back to something akin to normal?
My cheesiness would be attending the conference for the hotel lobby to get some tea-related beverages with all of our alumni and also other folks that I've not got to see in the next year. So I'm really looking forward to SHA.
Mine might be very similar, but to SEAC, to be able to see folks in Durham this fall, hopefully in SEAC, and once again enjoy a nice beverage in the lobby and catch up and make good on our promise of award-winning beverages for award winners.
Yeah.
So
I think that works. We'll have to figure out to get maybe some sturdier mugs of some kind to provide for alumni.
yes. Well, thanks to everyone for tuning in at home for 50 episodes. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
And here's to many more.
Cheers. Yes.